Hey guys, it's Keith. It's the 28th of February, and apparently it's the economic blackout day. I'm not sure. I guess this is countrywide. Um, I've been seeing it in my local subreddit, but it's on Red Scare Pods as well. And I'm not really sure what to make of this or what to say about it. Um, I suppose I have a bit of a ho hum apathetic attitude toward activism in general and slacktivism as well. Though I would more likely partake in something like this than a march, which I have very little interest in doing ever. Honestly, the only times I really want to be in big crowds is if it's for something fun, like a concert for sure, a rave, or maybe a sporting event, especially for my team, the LA Dodgers. Um, but like I never did the Times Square ball drop in New York. That sounds like hell to me when I lived there. I'm not interested in. I mean, I did. I remember when I was young and in New York. I was really politically active during those early years until Obama and through Obama, really. But like when that '04 election, who was that? Kerry versus Bush. I remember marching for that. I did uh, Occupy Wall Street a little, but not too much. I thought that was cool, but I didn't like do too much about that. I'm not that interested in being in major crowds where there's a lot of angst and anger and frustration. I don't feel the need to express myself that way. This way of expressing oneself, it's hard to know what the point of this is, I suppose, for me. Um, a friend on Instagram was posting this, and he has a local business here in LA, and that's cool. And I've been meaning to visit his spot. It's nice to see him around. He's into this stuff, and he's like on that socialist far left end of things. And I have some respect for the class war. I get really tired of the woke Marxism throughout culture, the identity politics, and measuring people against each other by perceived um, status and power. But I think that economic issues are real, and that is where the Democrats absolutely should be focusing their attention in terms of making things more fair. I'm all about spreading the wealth. I'm a Bernie guy. Um, so yeah, I support a really progressive tax structure on income, but also wealth. I support workers' rights in general. I'm not sure necessarily about a minimum wage law per se nationally. Um, that's a little more complicated because I'm not sure if you're getting the results that you want just by implementing a law like that. But I think workers should be paid fairly, for sure. I just think it's like hard to like make a rule about that on a national level. Um, this sort of thing, the stuff I've been reading, if I click on this on the comments here, um, Friday, February 28th is an economic blackout. Buy only from small businesses and pay in cash. Hit these mega corporations that are funding this administration. So this is like an anti-Trump thing. Um, this post is locked. Why doesn't everyone just cancel their Amazon Prime accounts? Because it's too convenient to do. I hate Amazon, but shit shows up on my doorstep a day later, so I won't. Like, I don't hate Amazon. I actually really like Amazon. I'm a supporter of Amazon. I have friends that have worked there, but that's not really relevant. I have an Amazon Prime account. I order things. I like the convenience. I believe in this sort of economy, frankly. I believe in the consumer power for convenience and the structures around that. I don't mind delivery trucks in my cities. I don't mind, like, to me, that's a fine job, that last mile job. Whether or not Jeff Bezos is a fair boss or how he runs that company, whether or not workers are treated fairly in the warehouses, that's beside the point. Like, I would support uh, better conditions for workers if they're bad, absolutely. I don't want to see these images from China and Foxconn of Chinese workers committing suicide, right? um, but for me, like, I don't understand why people hate Amazon so much. Amazon is a very it's a great business model, period. So, but people like to be against it just because Jeff Bezos is rich and they feel like this like class war against him. I don't feel like that. Um, People adding things to Amazon cart for March 1st. That's the main problem with these things, and the no gas days. It just delays purchases till the next day. For the companies being boycotted, it's just an anomaly at best and doesn't really affect their bottom line. If people really want to make an impact, they need to permanently stop shopping at these places and reduce their consumption all around. Yeah, I mean, boycotts do work. You know, I mean, that whole thing, that anti-woke wave against Bud Light a couple years ago, where Kid Rock was like shooting his guns at Bud Light cans because they had a trans influencer do promos for them. That was effective, and Anheuser-Busch had to pivot their marketing strategies to appeal better to their target audience. I thought that was kind of peak wokeism, where even Bud Light was like, you know, using trans influencers. And I thought that was a good wake-up call, because it's like, I do think that, I mean, capitalism works, you guys. Capitalism works. I am not anti-capitalist anymore. The older I get, it's not just because the older you get, the more wealth you do inevitably accrue, generally speaking. So older people are less jaded and, you know, class warriors as young people. Young people have less. They have much less hierarchical power. They get hired toward the bottom rungs of things. They have a lot less experience, a lot less wisdom, a lot less money. So it makes sense that young people, you know, rage against the system because they don't have much in the system, but they do. I mean, I think it's very short-sighted and silly that young people think they have no invested interest in the system. That is the system that bore them and bred them, and they are going to naturally become the inheritors of that system. So I have some respect nowadays for the social system that we live in, and I think it's better than it's ever been historically. There is a lot of talk about the US on this decline, the empire falling. I do think there's some, you know, there's something there, I guess, but at the end of the day, I'm a consumer, you're a consumer, you're consuming this as media entertainment right now, and that's fine. Like, you're using a device that is very complex and took a lot of natural resources to mine and labor to assemble and drivers to deliver to you, and you're consuming it through this powerful modern technology screen, and all the more power to you. I love screens. I have a lot of them. I have some amount of, not guilt, but some, you know, inner conflict about how much is too much. Do I need a screen in every room? Do I need to take a screen into the bathroom? You know, this kind of thought process is important for us to wonder about. But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with this kind of progressing technology. It's great. And so I just find it really weird, like, the impetus behind this. Like, we hate Trump and this admin and what he stands for so much that we're gonna boycott businesses for a day. I don't see the logic there. It's just peak slacktivism to me. Sure, a single blackout day is going to do absolutely nothing, but if people can't do a single fucking day, we're never going to make it to the point where we can go past that. So it's a good first step. That's fair. Yeah. I mean, every marathon starts with one step, or whatever that phrase might be. But I don't understand why we need to cut back I mean, I think overconsumption is a problem, so I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't cut back on our consumption. I'm saying, how does, like, I think that we do vote with our wallets, that's for sure. I do vote for Amazon. I vote for the companies I like, Apple, COS and Everlane, and, you know, these certain clothing brands. I consume certain, you know, I have my preferences for guitars and video game consoles and movie directors and music. Like, it's fun to have preferences, you know? Like, I think, you know, as a kid from the 80s and 90s, I value developing my sense of self through consumption. I don't hate it. I don't feel like I've been told and programmed and brainwashed into what to like and what to do. I don't feel like that at all. Like, I think that's wrong. I don't believe that. I don't believe that media has the kind of effects that some people claim it does. Like, violence is caused by media. That's wrong. Media is made by people with the same instincts and intuitions that are already there, and then they give artistic form to it. All of this while using Reddit and thus supporting Amazon. Great thinking. This is getting to the fact that Amazon's main value is created through, what's the phrase, farms of data farms, or like Amazon runs a lot of the hard tech in the cloud that we all use. So yeah, people are trying to like spread their bona fides on how let's see what this one says. Red Sierra Pod is one of my favorite podcasts. Surely you're just delaying your purchase to another day. So how does this actually impact the bottom line of large corporations? Maybe I'm being stupid. No, you've got it. I think my favorite part of the liberal need to lionize small business owners is that 99% of small business owners are legitimately brain dead, full-blown Trumpers. Yeah, there are some queer bookstore owners in there, but almost all of the rest of them are dudes who sat on their business's roof with guns in 2020. Kind of a hot take. I don't agree. I know business owners that are not like that. But I do, like, the point I made to my buddy online is like true revolution and true change that people are kind of hoping this goes toward is done through labor and unionizing and, slowdowns and not going to work, not consumers. Consumers can affect the way in which corporations function and how they best, pander to us as consumers, but they're not the ones that are like, consumers do not change the world. They don't, like when Steve Jobs created the iPod and iPhone, he's given credit a lot for changing the world. He was obviously standing on the backs of giants to a degree. People could have not bought his product, but he kind of intuited what people wanted before they knew it. And I think that's the way it goes. I don't want to sound like I'm glazing titans of industry, because I have plenty against monopolies and greed and, having your wealth stowed away, hoarded on some, tax refuge island or something. But I don't fully understand the logic of this. Who cares? This kind of like, this is kind of how I feel about politics right now. Who cares? Like, people make such a big deal out of politics, and it's hard for me to fully understand why. I don't fully understand the big deal about a lot of this. If we go through my Reddit history,
with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to...
Come once.
I've
been to Ukraine a few times. I thought it was great. I love Eastern Europe in general. I also like Russia. I was getting into this with my dad because, this is surrounded a little bit by my actual interests. I'm into these retro games and stuff now. But I want to get to my upvoted. Louis coming back.
Do you still think that Mr. Zelensky is a dictator?
Did I say that? I can't believe I said that. Next question.
Yeah, so I was asking my dad, like, what disturbs you so much about Trump and this administration? What is it that you worry about? He's like, well, the fall of democracy, the autocracy, the dictatorship. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, can you give me a real example of what Trump is doing that you hate? And he was struggling. He was like, let me get back to you. I'm like, how do you not know? He eventually said, like, the fact that he called Zelensky a dictator and that he was getting the UN to like support this claim. And I just thought, well, that sounds like nonsense. That sounds like silly fodder for the 24-hour news cycle. I don't really care about the utterances of Trump. His tweets are amusing. He's funny. He's a funny person. He's charismatic. I don't like him. I didn't vote for him. I don't care enough. Like, I'm not scared of Donald Trump. I don't at all like what he did 4 years ago when he lost the election and didn't admit it. That was a terrible look for democracy. Absolutely. And I'm not going to sit here and defend January 6th and all that. But to freak out on this level of like, there goes democracy, we're no longer, you know, a representative democracy, this guy is Hitler, like, that's insane to me. And maybe I benefit from the fact that I lived in Berlin during his first admin, so I didn't feel the fear that affected so many of my friends on the coasts of the US. But for me, like, he's taken it back as soon as he's said it, you know what I mean? Like, this is a non-story. But to me, like, you know, if I click on these comments, what are they going to say? Are they going to agree with me? Or are they going to, like, is this going to
I still think that Mr.
the hatred toward him? Trump lying. What news? For me, it looks like he's also being snarky about it. French press wrote that he canceled the Friday meeting with Zelensky. Then Zelensky called Macron, who had to persuade Trump to meet. Fucking high school shit. I mean, that's politics, though. Look at his smirk. Yeah, I mean, people don't like him. He's despicable. He's not a likable guy to most people. I don't actually understand this cult of personality that he has among his fan base at all. But like to like pile on him, like, I don't know. If he says that Zelensky's a dictator, then he's terrible for that. If he takes it back, then he's terrible for that. So if you're gonna hate him, I mean, haters gonna hate, basically. I think your fridge says a lot about you. I've randomly started following that.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually just call myself a humble tech support here because this is actually, as crazy as it sounds, that is almost a literal description of the work that the Doge team is doing, is helping fix the government computer systems. Many of these systems are extremely old. They don't communicate. There are a lot of mistakes in the systems. The software doesn't work. So we are actually tech support.
I mean, people are hating on Elon Musk these days. I don't really understand that either. I'm not this huge Musk fan. I don't drive a Tesla. I did help convince my dad to get a Tesla years ago. I've come to dislike the iPad interface. I want buttons and knobs and switches on things. But I don't understand the hatred, the vile hatred toward Elon Musk. He's obviously, I don't know what you want to say. I'm not going to use a big word here, but he's a doer. You know, he gets things done, whether or not he founded PayPal or Tesla. He definitely brought those kind of companies to success, and those were good business models. Like, I support what those things do. And right now he's being civically minded. You know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, he's trying to help the country. He founded Tesla to help the world. SpaceX, I'm not so sure, but, you know, there's a lot of room for imagination and exploration in this world as well. So I really like what he's saying right here. Maybe this soundbite isn't enough for me to fully understand his goal with Doge and this department and stuff, and his whole thing with helping Trump out. But to me, like, I think what he's saying is spot on. It's infrastructure. You know, Biden ran on a similar thing, right? Biden was a roads and rails guy, as am I. But I also, you know, in Berlin, I was like a big fan of the Die Piraten, the Pirates Party, who were just like really gung-ho about improving the internet because Germany's internet sucks. They were an early adopter. It's gotten so much faster since then. There's a lot of old buildings that those wires are running through, and it needs upgrading. And I just believe in progress technologically. I don't hate delivery services. I don't hate you know, upgrading computers. You know, like, I remember watching a doc maybe about the nuclear arms that the US oversees and, you know, stewards, and how these are like being run in like silos run with really old like Windows 98 computers and stuff. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like these could just explode, you know, and they're run on these like really shoddy computer interfaces. Not interfaces, the bones of them, the microchips. I'm hoping that Elon does upgrade all that. Like, that's cool. Like, I want the US to be doing stuff like that. Why would you not want that? I don't get that. And his whole thing with, like, firing people. Like, the government is way too inefficient and bloated. There's way too much red tape. There's way too much admin and bureaucracy. Like, you like that? You're a fan of that? I don't get that. Like, why? Why would you want to hire 20 people when 3 people could do the job? Like, for livelihoods, that's cool. Very impressive. This is really nice looking. You know, this is like an example of the kind of politics and failures that I care about. Local LA metro stuff. I'm looking for another thing that I upvoted that I thought was interesting besides the job market being bad.
Well, the good news, everybody's supposed to know that when it comes to,
I can't remember, but it was essentially like for universal basic income, which is a project I've been caring about for a long time. I would rather pay people just money for doing nothing. I would rather just give people money, honestly, than have them show up at a bullshit job pretending to work and getting in the way and slowing things down and just pushing paper around. Like, I don't support that stuff. I support people having good lives. I don't know why jobs are the way to do that. And the bigger and stronger AI and robots get, the less humans have to do, and that should be considered a blessing. Like, we should all be so lucky as to have leisure time and be given and provided for. You know, like, welfare is a good thing. I think that people could find a lot more interesting things to do than show up to a stupid job that they don't even like. So for me, I'm fine with terminating certain jobs that are pointless and cleaning up the bloat in the U.S. economy. I'm totally fine with it. I don't want to just leave people out in the cold. I'd rather still take from the rich and give to the poor in terms of sustenance, living, and even more than that. Like, we have so much wealth just being hoarded and accrued at the very top 0.0001% of people. I would be very happy to take their money, tax everything above, you know, 2 million in income or whatever, capital gains or whatever. Like, tax progressively to a very high degree the way it was in the Roaring 20s 100 years ago. So that's where I'm at. I don't really understand why people are so freaked out, though. You know, I guess the last thing I'll say is that, like, the tariff stuff is something that I care about, and it's not just because I'm getting into like retro handhelds, devices that are made in China through AliExpress. Like, I do think that America, like, is the biggest consumer economy in the world, and we should be okay with that, even proud, as awkward as that sounds. And to tell other countries, like, no, we're gonna try and make our own things, we don't want your stuff anymore, or we're gonna penalize taking it in from you, like, that is weird. I don't like the isolationist stuff that Trump does. I don't like cutting ourselves off from the rest of the world at all. I think that the US should be fully integrated and a leader in the world in all ways, you know, from polio vaccines and stuff to consumerism and advancements in the interconnectedness of the global economy. So I feel pretty consistent about that. I'm a liberal. I'm a classic liberal. I'm liberal, period. I'm not Marxist. I'm not that progressive in many ways. I still am in some ways, like the progressive tax. But I think that people freak out about a lot of stuff that they don't need to be. So I don't know. As you can see from my varied interests on Reddit, I've been spending more time caring about my actual hobbies. Baseball season's coming back. These kind of, you know, I have one of these. Like, it's really fun and neat to play with, and it's $50, you know. Playing old Pokemon games and Zelda games is great. This looks like a cool device. Guitar I'm back into. I got my Fender Mustang fixed up. It's great to play with my bros. So like, I don't know, there's so many other things in life to care about, and the fact that people get all worked up about Donald Trump and how the world is going to hell in a handbasket and stuff, it just seems like a bunch of energy wasted for no great reason. That's how I feel about it. All right, guys, take care. Until next time. Ciao.